She trained alone, before sunrise, after hours, in silence. While the others laughed, joked, and called it a day, she stayed. Perfecting movements, memorizing protocols, preparing for something they couldn't see coming. When the attack hit, they said she froze, that she panicked, that she wasn't cut out for this. For months, she carried that shame. Then the classified footage surfaced. Frame by frame, it showed the truth. While everyone else scattered, she was the one moving toward the danger. While others took cover, she was pulling teammates to safety. While they froze, she was already 3 steps ahead, executing a plan that saved every single person in that room. From which city in the world are you watching this video today? If you enjoy stories about how truth always finds a way to the surface, consider subscribing for more content that proves the real heroes are often the ones whose stories take time to tell. The pre-dawn darkness enveloped the sprawling complex of Quantico Marine Corps Base when Lance Corporal Angela Phantom Rodriguez first began the solitary training regimen that would define her military career and ultimately vindicate her reputation after months of unjust scrutiny. At 0430 hours on a crisp October morning in Virginia, with temperatures hovering just above freezing and the first hints of autumn fog drifting across the training grounds, Rodriguez made her way through empty corridors toward the tactical training facility where she would spend the next 2 hours preparing for challenges that others couldn't imagine. The corridors of the training complex echoed with her footsteps as she moved through sections that would soon be filled with Marines conducting various training exercises, but for now remained empty and silent except for the distant hum of ventilation systems and the occasional sound of security patrols making their rounds. The solitude of these early morning hours had become sacred to Rodriguez, providing the only time when she could train without the weight of expectations or the burden of others' perceptions about her capabilities. Quantico Marine Corps Base served as the epicenter of Marine Corps officer training and specialized military education, housing the most advanced tactical training facilities in the American military. The base sprawled across 55,000 acres of Virginia countryside that had been transforming military personnel into elite warriors since 1917, with facilities that could simulate virtually any combat environment that Marines might encounter during operational deployments worldwide. The installation's red brick buildings and tree-lined streets gave it the appearance of a prestigious university campus. But beneath this civilized exterior lay training facilities designed to test human limits and develop the kind of warriors who could operate effectively in the world's most dangerous environments. Every aspect of the base was designed to prepare Marines for the realities of combat, from basic marksmanship to complex multi-unit operations that required coordination between different military specialties. The tactical training facility where Rodriguez conducted her solitary preparation sessions contained state-of-the-art simulation equipment, advanced weapons systems, and scenario-based training environments that challenged both physical capabilities and mental resilience under conditions designed to replicate the stress and confusion of actual combat operations. The facility represented the cutting edge of military training technology, with holographic targets, live-fire ranges, and computer-controlled scenarios that could adapt to trainee responses in real time. The main training area featured modular walls that could be reconfigured to create different tactical environments, from urban combat scenarios to wilderness operations, each designed to test specific aspects of military competence while building the kind of adaptability that modern warfare demanded. Advanced lighting systems could simulate different times of day and weather conditions, while sound systems provided realistic audio environments that included explosions, gunfire, and the chaos of battlefield communications. Lance Corporal Rodriguez had arrived at Quantico 6 months earlier as part of a specialized training program that prepared Marines for assignment to crisis response teams responsible for protecting American diplomatic facilities and personnel worldwide. The Marine Security Guard program was among the most selective and demanding assignments in the Marine Corps, requiring not only exceptional tactical skills, but also cultural awareness, diplomatic protocols, and the ability to make split-second decisions that could affect international relations. The training program combined advanced tactical skills with diplomatic security procedures, language training, and cultural education that would enable graduates to function effectively in complex operational environments where military and diplomatic considerations intersected. Marines selected for this program were expected to represent the best of their service while operating in embassy compounds around the world where they might be the only American military presence in countries facing political instability or active conflict. At 24, Rodriguez brought unique qualifications to her specialized training, including previous experience as a military police officer where she had gained experience in law enforcement procedures, crowd control, and protective services. Her military police background had included deployments to Iraq, where she had conducted security operations in urban environments that required both tactical competence and cultural sensitivity when dealing with civilian populations. Her academic qualifications included a bachelor's degree in international relations from a prestigious university, where she had studied the political and cultural dynamics that shaped international conflicts. Her coursework had included extensive study of Middle Eastern politics, terrorism and counterterrorism strategies, and the role of military force in diplomatic relationships. She was fluent in Arabic and Spanish, languages that were considered critical for diplomatic security operations in regions where American embassies faced significant threats. Her combination of military experience, academic achievement, and linguistic capabilities had marked her as an ideal candidate for specialized training leading to assignment with elite diplomatic security teams. Her selection for the program had been competitive, with only 30 Marines chosen from over 300 applicants who had met the basic qualifications for consideration. But Rodriguez's path through the specialized training program had been marked by an incident during a tactical exercise that had called into question her ability to function effectively under combat stress. The incident had occurred during a complex scenario that simulated a terrorist attack on an American embassy, requiring coordinated response from multiple teams while protecting diplomatic personnel and maintaining facility security under extreme pressure. The exercise had been designed to test every aspect of Marine security guard training, from individual tactical skills to team coordination under stress. The scenario involved multiple terrorist teams attempting to penetrate embassy security through different entry points while employing explosive devices, chemical weapons, and hostage-taking tactics that required immediate and coordinated response from defensive forces. During the exercise, eyewitness accounts from other participants had described Rodriguez as freezing under pressure when the scenario became chaotic and demanding. Fellow trainees had reported that she appeared to panic when simulated explosions and gunfire created confusion, and that she had failed to execute tactical procedures that were essential for protecting diplomatic personnel during emergency evacuations. The reports had described Rodriguez as being paralyzed by fear when decisive action was required, unable to maintain composure under the stress of simulated combat conditions. Her apparent failure to function effectively during the tactical exercise had raised serious questions about her suitability for assignment to diplomatic security teams, where hesitation or panic could result in the deaths of American diplomatic personnel under her protection. Staff Sergeant Michael Thompson, one of the exercise evaluators, had filed a particularly damaging report that described Rodriguez as completely ineffective under pressure and unable to maintain basic tactical proficiency when faced with realistic combat stress. Thompson's report had noted that Rodriguez had appeared confused and disoriented during the exercise, failing to respond appropriately to commands and unable to coordinate with other team members. The incident reports had been filed by training instructors and fellow students who had observed her performance during the exercise, creating an official record that documented her apparent inability to maintain effectiveness under combat stress. The reports had become part of her permanent training record and had influenced subsequent evaluations of her tactical competence and psychological stability under pressure. Captain Patricia Williams, the officer responsible for overseeing Marine security guard training, had reviewed the incident reports with growing concern about Rodriguez's suitability for diplomatic security assignments. The reports painted a picture of someone who might be academically qualified but lacked the psychological resilience necessary for protecting American diplomatic personnel in high-threat environments. The reports are consistent in describing fundamental failures in tactical performance under stress, Captain Williams had noted in her evaluation. Rodriguez appears to lack the stress tolerance and tactical instincts necessary for effective performance in diplomatic security roles where American lives would depend on her ability to function under pressure. Following the incident, Rodriguez had been subjected to additional psychological evaluation and remedial training designed to address her apparent deficiencies in stress management and tactical decision-making under pressure. The additional training had been presented as an opportunity for improvement, but it was understood by everyone involved that her career prospects had been severely damaged by the documented failure during the tactical exercise. The psychological evaluations had been conducted by Dr. Sarah Mitchell, a military psychologist who specialized in assessing personnel for assignment to high-stress positions requiring exceptional mental resilience and decision-making capability under extreme pressure. Dr. Mitchell had extensive experience evaluating Marines for special operations assignments and diplomatic security roles where psychological stability was crucial for mission success. The evaluations had included comprehensive stress testing, personality assessment, and scenario-based exercises designed to determine whether Rodriguez possessed the psychological characteristics necessary for effective performance in diplomatic security roles. The testing had involved simulated stress situations, decision-making scenarios under time pressure, and assessment of her ability to maintain cognitive function when faced with multiple competing demands. The results of the psychological evaluations had been inconclusive, with some indicators suggesting that Rodriguez possessed adequate stress tolerance, while others raised concerns about her ability to maintain effectiveness during chaotic situations that required quick adaptation and decisive action. Dr. Mitchell's report had noted that Rodriguez demonstrated average stress tolerance with some indicators of performance degradation under extreme pressure. The mixed results had prevented clear determination of her suitability for continued training in diplomatic security operations. While Rodriguez had not been eliminated from the program, she had been placed in a probationary status that required additional monitoring and evaluation to determine whether she could overcome the deficiencies identified during the tactical exercise. But Rodriguez had refused to accept that the incident during the tactical exercise represented her true capabilities or defined her potential for success in diplomatic security operations. She understood that her reputation had been damaged by the eyewitness accounts and official reports, but she also knew that her actual performance during the exercise had been different from what others had observed or reported. Her memory of the exercise was clear and detailed, and she was certain that she had not frozen or panicked as described in the incident reports. She remembered executing tactical procedures systematically, maintaining situational awareness throughout the chaotic scenario, and taking appropriate action to protect simulated diplomatic personnel from terrorist threats. The discrepancy between her memory of events and the official reports had created a crisis of confidence that threatened to undermine her commitment to military service. Rodriguez began to question whether her perceptions were accurate or whether the stress of the exercise had affected her memory of events. The possibility that she might have performed as poorly as the report suggested was deeply troubling and threatened to destroy her confidence in her own capabilities. Her decision to begin intensive individual training sessions reflected her determination to develop capabilities that would demonstrate her suitability for diplomatic security assignments regardless of the perceptions created by the tactical exercise incident. If she had indeed performed poorly during the exercise, the additional training would address any deficiencies and prepare her for future evaluations. If the reports had been inaccurate, the training would provide an opportunity to demonstrate her true capabilities. The solitary training regimen was designed to address every aspect of tactical competence that might be required during actual emergency situations. Rodriguez had analyzed the types of challenges that diplomatic security personnel faced and developed training exercises that would prepare her for any scenario she might encounter during operational assignments. The training sessions began each morning at 0430 hours, before other personnel arrived at the facility, and when she could practice without observation or interference from others who might be influenced by preconceptions about her capabilities. The early morning sessions allowed her to focus completely on skill development without the distraction of external evaluation or judgment from instructors and fellow students. Rodriguez's training regimen included weapons handling exercises that emphasized speed and accuracy under stress, tactical movement drills that required navigation through complex environments while maintaining situational awareness, and decision-making scenarios that tested her ability to process multiple variables and select appropriate responses under time pressure. The weapons training component focused on developing muscle memory and instinctive responses that would enable effective engagement of threats while maintaining awareness of civilian populations and diplomatic personnel who might be present during actual emergency situations. Rodriguez practiced firing positions, target acquisition, and ammunition management under conditions that simulated the stress and confusion of actual combat. She used advanced marksmanship training techniques that included shooting while moving, engaging multiple targets in sequence, and maintaining accuracy while processing tactical communications. Her practice sessions included live-fire exercises with moving targets, low-light shooting scenarios, and precision shooting that required hitting specific target zones to simulate neutralizing threats without causing collateral damage. Her tactical movement training emphasized stealth, speed, and situational awareness that would enable effective navigation through hostile environments while accomplishing protective missions. Rodriguez practiced moving through complex terrain, building clearing procedures, and evacuation techniques that would be essential for protecting diplomatic personnel during emergency situations. The movement training included exercises that required navigating through urban environments with multiple entry and exit points, moving undetected through areas under surveillance, and executing emergency evacuation procedures under time pressure. She practiced carrying simulated wounded personnel, moving groups of civilians through dangerous areas, and coordinating movement with other security personnel. The decision-making component of her training involved scenario-based exercises that required rapid assessment of threat situations and selection of appropriate tactical responses based on incomplete information and time constraints. Rodriguez used computer simulations and mental rehearsal techniques to practice decision-making under pressure while maintaining awareness of diplomatic considerations that might influence tactical choices. These decision-making exercises included scenarios where tactical and diplomatic considerations conflicted, requiring careful balance between protecting American personnel and avoiding actions that might escalate international tensions. She practiced making rapid assessments of threat levels, determining appropriate levels of force for different situations, and coordinating with local security forces while maintaining operational security. Her training also included psychological preparation techniques that were designed to maintain mental clarity and emotional stability under extreme stress. Rodriguez studied stress management methods, breathing techniques, and mental focusing exercises that would enable her to function effectively during chaotic situations that might overwhelm personnel who lacked adequate psychological preparation. The psychological training included meditation techniques for maintaining focus under pressure, visualization exercises for mental rehearsal of tactical scenarios, and stress inoculation training that gradually increased her tolerance for high-stress situations. She studied the physiological effects of stress on performance and learned techniques for managing stress responses that might interfere with tactical effectiveness. The intensity and comprehensiveness of Rodriguez's individual training regimen exceeded what most personnel accomplished during formal instruction programs. Her dedication to skill development reflected both her determination to overcome the reputation damage from the tactical exercise incident and her genuine commitment to developing capabilities that would enable her to protect American diplomatic personnel effectively. Rodriguez spent an average of 3 hours each day in individual training, in addition to her participation in formal instruction programs. Her training included physical conditioning that enhanced her strength and endurance, technical skills that improved her proficiency with weapons and equipment, and mental preparation that enhanced her ability to function under stress. After 3 months of intensive individual training, Rodriguez felt prepared to demonstrate that her capabilities exceeded the limitations suggested by the tactical exercise incident. Her skills had improved significantly through systematic practice, and her confidence had been restored through successful completion of increasingly challenging training scenarios. The opportunity to demonstrate her improved capabilities came during an advanced tactical exercise that simulated a complex terrorist attack on an American embassy compound. The exercise was designed to test all aspects of diplomatic security training while creating stress conditions that would reveal whether participants possessed the tactical competence and psychological resilience necessary for actual diplomatic security assignments. The exercise scenario involved a coordinated attack by multiple terrorist teams attempting to penetrate embassy security and capture American diplomatic personnel for propaganda purposes. The attack included explosive devices, chemical weapons, small arms fire, and hostage-taking attempts that required coordinated response from defensive teams while protecting civilians and maintaining facility security. The scenario was based on actual terrorist attacks against American diplomatic facilities, including the 1998 embassy bombings in Kenya and Tanzania, the 2012 attack on the American consulate in Benghazi, and intelligence assessments of current terrorist capabilities and tactics. The exercise was designed to be as realistic as possible while maintaining safety for participants. Rodriguez's assignment during the exercise was to serve as part of a protective detail responsible for evacuating diplomatic personnel from the facility while maintaining security and preventing terrorist access to classified materials and communication systems. The assignment required coordination with other security teams while making tactical decisions based on rapidly changing threat conditions. The exercise began at 0600 hours with simulated explosions that created confusion and panic among participants while testing their ability to maintain tactical effectiveness under stress. The explosions were followed by simulated gunfire, reports of terrorist infiltration, and chemical weapon alerts that required immediate response from security teams positioned throughout the embassy compound. As the exercise scenario developed, Rodriguez found herself in a situation that closely resembled the tactical exercise, where she had reportedly frozen under pressure. The same types of explosions, gunfire, and chaos that had supposedly caused her to panic were present, but this time her response was entirely different from what had been reported previously. Instead of freezing or panicking, Rodriguez immediately began executing tactical procedures that she had practiced during her individual training sessions. Her response was smooth, confident, and decisive, demonstrating capabilities that exceeded those displayed by other participants who were experiencing the high-stress scenario for the first time. Rodriguez's movements were precise and purposeful as she assessed the tactical situation, communicated with other team members, and began implementing evacuation procedures for diplomatic personnel. Her actions demonstrated the kind of tactical competence and stress management that the training program was designed to develop. Her performance during the exercise was exceptional by any measure, with tactical decision-making and stress management that impressed instructors who had been skeptical about her suitability for diplomatic security assignments. Her actions during the simulated terrorist attack demonstrated competence that contradicted the reports from the previous tactical exercise incident. But the most significant aspect of Rodriguez's performance was not just her individual excellence, but her leadership and protective actions that saved other participants from simulated casualties during the exercise. When other personnel became confused or overwhelmed by the chaos, Rodriguez provided guidance and coordination that enabled successful completion of evacuation procedures. During one particularly challenging phase of the exercise, a simulated chemical weapon attack had created panic among several participants who began moving toward areas that would have resulted in their elimination from the scenario. Rodriguez quickly identified the danger and redirected the personnel to safe areas while maintaining her own tactical effectiveness. Her actions during the chemical weapon simulation demonstrated not only her own stress tolerance, but also her ability to maintain situational awareness and provide leadership when others were overwhelmed by the scenario's demands. Her guidance prevented what would have been significant casualties among the evacuating personnel. The exercise concluded with all diplomatic personnel successfully evacuated and terrorist objectives prevented through coordinated defensive actions. Rodriguez's contribution to the successful outcome was recognized by instructors who noted that her tactical competence and leadership had been crucial factors in achieving mission success under extremely challenging conditions. Staff Sergeant Thompson, who had filed the original negative report about Rodriguez's performance, observed her exceptional performance during this exercise with growing confusion about the discrepancy between her current capabilities and his previous assessment. Her performance was so dramatically different from what he had observed previously that he began to question whether he had misunderstood her actions during the original incident. Following the exercise, Rodriguez was approached by Major Patricia Stevens, the senior instructor responsible for evaluating tactical competence and recommending personnel for advanced assignments. Major Stevens had been present during both the original incident that had damaged Rodriguez's reputation and the recent exercise that had demonstrated her exceptional capabilities. Rodriguez, I need to understand what happened during your first tactical exercise, Major Stevens said during a private meeting following the recent exercise. Your performance today was outstanding, but the reports from your previous exercise described completely different capabilities. Something doesn't add up, and I need to get to the bottom of this discrepancy. Rodriguez had been waiting for this conversation, knowing that her recent performance would eventually lead to questions about the discrepancy between her current capabilities and the previous reports of failure under pressure. She was prepared to discuss the incident honestly, while maintaining respect for the personnel who had filed the original reports. Ma'am, I believe there may have been misunderstanding about my actions during the previous exercise, Rodriguez replied carefully. I was performing tactical procedures that may have appeared different from what others expected, but I was following appropriate protocols for the situation as I understood it. Major Stevens reviewed the original incident reports while considering Rodriguez's explanation and her recent demonstration of exceptional tactical competence. The discrepancy between the documented failure and observed excellence suggested that the original reports might have been based on incomplete observation or misunderstanding of tactical procedures. The original reports described you as freezing and panicking under pressure, Stevens noted. Staff Sergeant Thompson specifically reported that you appeared paralyzed by fear and unable to execute basic tactical procedures. But your performance today showed exceptional composure and tactical competence under the same types of stress conditions. The contradiction was so stark that Stevens began to suspect that something had been fundamentally wrong with the original assessment. Rodriguez's recent performance had been among the best she had observed during her years of evaluating Marine Security Guard candidates, making it difficult to believe that the same person could have performed as poorly as the incident report suggested. I'm ordering a complete review of the original incident to determine what actually happened, Stevens continued. If there were errors in the original assessment, we need to correct them. If you were performing appropriately during the original exercise, then we've done you a serious injustice. The review process included re-examination of all available documentation from the original tactical exercise, interviews with personnel who had filed incident reports, and technical analysis of facility security systems that might have recorded the actual events. The goal was to determine whether the original reports accurately reflected Rodriguez's performance or whether there had been errors in observation or documentation. The interviews with exercise participants revealed inconsistencies in their recollections of events and uncertainty about what they had actually observed during the chaotic scenario. Several participants admitted that their attention had been focused on their own performance rather than observing others, while others acknowledged that the stress of the exercise had affected their ability to accurately assess what was happening around them. Staff Sergeant Thompson, when questioned about his specific observations, admitted that he had been primarily focused on managing his own responsibilities during the exercise and had only briefly observed Rodriguez's actions. His assessment had been based on fragmentary observations made under stressful conditions rather than continuous monitoring of her performance. I may have misinterpreted what I saw, Thompson acknowledged during his interview. The exercise was extremely stressful, and I was focused on multiple responsibilities. My observations of Rodriguez were limited, and I may have drawn incorrect conclusions about her performance. The breakthrough came when technicians discovered that the tactical training facility was equipped with comprehensive security camera systems that recorded all training exercises for safety monitoring and instructional purposes. The recordings from Rodriguez's original tactical exercise had been preserved in facility archives, but had not been reviewed during the initial incident investigation. The security camera footage provided objective documentation of exactly what had occurred during the tactical exercise that had damaged Rodriguez's reputation. The facility's multiple camera angles and high-resolution recording capabilities had captured detailed visual evidence of every participant's actions throughout the exercise. Frame-by-frame analysis of the recordings revealed that the eyewitness reports had been completely inaccurate in their description of Rodriguez's performance under pressure. The footage showed a dramatically different story than what had been documented in the official incident reports. The footage showed that Rodriguez had not frozen or panicked during the exercise. Instead, she had immediately begun executing tactical procedures that demonstrated exceptional competence and situational awareness. While other participants had indeed shown signs of confusion and stress, Rodriguez had maintained composure and effectiveness throughout the chaotic scenario. More significantly, the footage revealed that Rodriguez had performed several protective actions that had prevented other participants from being eliminated during the exercise. When simulated explosions had caused confusion and disorientation among other personnel, Rodriguez had guided them to safety while maintaining her own tactical effectiveness. The security camera recordings showed Rodriguez moving purposefully through the exercise scenario, communicating effectively with other team members, and executing tactical procedures with precision that exceeded the performance of most other participants. Her actions had been exemplary by any standard, demonstrating exactly the kind of tactical competence and stress management that diplomatic security assignments required. The footage also revealed why the original eyewitness reports had been inaccurate. The exercise had created chaotic conditions with limited visibility, loud noise, and high stress that had affected the observation capabilities of other participants. The personnel who had filed incident reports had observed only fragments of Rodriguez's performance and had misinterpreted her tactical movements as signs of panic or freezing. In several instances captured on video, Rodriguez's systematic and methodical approach to tactical procedures had been misinterpreted by observers as hesitation or confusion. Her careful assessment of situations before taking action had been perceived as paralysis by observers who expected more aggressive and immediate responses. The security footage clearly shows that Rodriguez performed exceptionally during the original exercise, Major Stevens reported to the training command staff. The incident reports were based on inaccurate observations made under stressful conditions. Rodriguez's actual performance was outstanding and demonstrated exactly the capabilities we seek in diplomatic security personnel. The revelation that Rodriguez had been wrongly accused of failure under pressure led to immediate correction of her training records and formal apology from training command leadership. The incident reports that had damaged her reputation were removed from her permanent record and replaced with accurate documentation of her exceptional performance during both tactical exercises. Colonel Michael Harrison, who commanded training operations at Quantico, personally met with Rodriguez to apologize for the injustice she had suffered and to commend her exceptional performance during both exercises. "You have demonstrated exactly the kind of tactical competence and professionalism that we seek in our diplomatic security personnel," Colonel Harrison said. "The Marine Corps owes you an apology for the error in assessment that damaged your reputation." But the vindication of Rodriguez's reputation represented more than simple correction of administrative errors. It exposed fundamental problems in how military training programs evaluated personnel performance under stress and documented critical incidents that could affect career advancement and assignment opportunities. Her case became a catalyst for comprehensive review of evaluation procedures and incident reporting systems throughout military training programs. General Patricia Morrison, who commanded training operations throughout the Marine Corps, ordered systematic review of all incident reporting procedures to determine whether similar errors had affected other personnel whose careers might have been damaged by inaccurate observations or documentation. The review was designed to identify systemic problems that could result in qualified personnel being eliminated from critical assignments based on flawed assessment methods. Rodriguez's case demonstrates that our incident reporting procedures may be inadequate for accurately assessing performance under high-stress conditions, General Morrison explained during a Pentagon briefing on training effectiveness. "We cannot afford to eliminate qualified personnel from critical assignments based on subjective observations that may be compromised by the same stress conditions that we're attempting to evaluate." The systematic review revealed multiple cases where personnel had been negatively evaluated based on incident reports that later proved to be inaccurate or incomplete when subjected to detailed investigation. The pattern suggested that high-stress training environments could compromise the observation capabilities of evaluators and participants, leading to assessment errors that affected qualified personnel. The review findings led to implementation of comprehensive changes in training evaluation procedures that emphasized objective documentation through technical systems rather than reliance on eyewitness observations made under stressful conditions. All major training exercises were equipped with recording systems that could provide accurate documentation of participant performance. Rodriguez's case also influenced development of new training methods that better prepared evaluators to assess performance under stress conditions. Training instructors received additional education about human performance under stress, the potential for observation errors during chaotic scenarios, and techniques for accurately assessing capabilities when traditional observation methods might be compromised. The changes in evaluation procedures were implemented throughout military training programs, with Rodriguez's case serving as an example of why objective assessment methods were essential for identifying and developing personnel with capabilities required for critical assignments. Her vindication influenced training practices that affected thousands of military personnel across all service branches. Following her vindication, Rodriguez was immediately selected for assignment to an elite diplomatic security team responsible for protecting American embassies in high-threat environments. Her demonstrated tactical competence and stress management capabilities made her an ideal candidate for assignments requiring exceptional performance under dangerous conditions where the stakes were measured in human lives rather than training scores. Her first assignment was to the American Embassy in Kabul, Afghanistan, where diplomatic security teams faced daily threats from Taliban forces, Al-Qaeda operatives, and other terrorist organizations that viewed American diplomatic facilities as high-value targets for propaganda attacks. The assignment represented both recognition of her exceptional capabilities and an opportunity to apply her training in an operational environment where theoretical knowledge would be tested by real-world dangers. Rodriguez's performance during her Kabul assignment validated every assessment of her exceptional capabilities for diplomatic security operations. Her tactical competence and stress management during multiple emergency situations earned recognition from embassy leadership and diplomatic security command headquarters, while her leadership during crisis situations demonstrated that her capabilities exceeded those of most personnel in her career field. During her 18-month assignment in Kabul, Rodriguez was involved in numerous incidents that tested her capabilities under actual combat conditions rather than training simulations. Her performance during these real-world emergencies demonstrated that her individual training regimen and psychological preparation had been effective in developing capabilities required for protecting diplomatic personnel under extreme danger. One particularly significant incident occurred when the embassy compound came under coordinated attack by multiple terrorist teams attempting to penetrate security and capture American diplomatic personnel for propaganda purposes. The attack involved explosives, small arms fire, and coordinated infiltration attempts that required immediate response from security teams while protecting civilians and maintaining facility security. Rodriguez's response to the attack demonstrated tactical competence and leadership that exceeded expectations for personnel at her experience level. Her actions during the attack coordinated evacuation procedures for diplomatic personnel while maintaining defensive positions that prevented terrorist penetration of the embassy compound. During the 6-hour battle that followed the initial attack, Rodriguez coordinated defensive fires, managed tactical communications, and provided leadership that enabled successful defense of the facility while protecting all American personnel from casualty or capture. Her performance under actual combat conditions validated every aspect of her training and preparation. The successful defense of the embassy during the terrorist attack earned Rodriguez commendation from the Secretary of State and recognition as one of the most effective diplomatic security personnel in the service. Her performance demonstrated that the original incident reports had not only been inaccurate, but had nearly prevented the Marine Corps from utilizing one of its most capable personnel. Because sometimes the person who saves everyone is the one who was wrongly judged in their darkest moment, but refused to let false accusations define their capabilities. And sometimes the truth takes time to surface, but when it does, it reveals not just innocence, but exceptional courage that was always there, waiting for the right moment to shine. The Lance Corporal who was accused of freezing under fire became the leader who taught the world that the greatest strength comes not from never falling down, but from getting back up and proving that first impressions can be dangerously wrong when applied to those who possess the rare combination of preparation, determination, and quiet courage that defines true heroes.